Welcome back. Today we're going to do a quick talk on the KBEAR Flash. So this one does look pretty cool. I think the faceplate's actually done quite well. They got sort of a ghosted KBEAR logo right there, flash across the faceplate. And the back you can make out the dynamic driver. The balanced armature is something new for KBEAR. It's actually, you can almost see the ring of it right there, the nozzle of it right there, coming in and out of focus, but it is actually in the nozzle. So I was told that they don't do that all that often, and they typically throw their BAs kind of right here in the corner, which is probably why the corner is empty, but that's where they typically are. So this one's a little bit different, and they threw it in the nozzle, and I wouldn't say there's a whole lot coming out of that balanced armature. It's not like a really bright balanced armature in your ear. It's rolled back quite a bit. So this is the cable. It looks pretty much as you would expect for a $20 set, except that it is a right angle or L shape 3.5 millimeter, which is always cool to have and useful on some occasions. So we'll kind of jump into it. What do you need to know about this guy? I would say KBEAR does a bass head style 1+1. So yeah, it's a bassy fun set. If you're looking for something other than a bassy fun set, you should probably look at one of their other sets. But yeah, this is just one of those sets that you just pick up when you're in the mood for a whole lot of bass to hear your ears shake a little bit. If you're looking for a great vocals, detail, that's not what this one is. This one is very much tilted to the bass. There's a lot of bass. There's not as much treble. Bass is the primary player here. You can play V-shaped electronic music at really high volume on this one, the way it's tilted, and it sounds quite good. I think Herbie Hancock's Rockit was probably the best track that I heard on this set. Just tons and tons of fun. I had it on repeat. And yeah, I kind of listen to that track occasionally on sets, and a lot of sets don't have enough bass to really make it fun, and this one definitely hits the fun factor on that track. So let's take a look at what this guy looks like compared to a couple other sets. So one set that people keep on asking me about is Clear, as far as bass headsets. So Clear is in the blue, Flash is in the red. So you can actually see kind of right away that Clear has a ton of bass. And I would say don't pay too much attention to the bass on Clear, but pay attention to what's going on here. So I would call Clear a classic V-shape, a really big V-shape. So a lot of bass and a lot of treble. The problem with that style is if you turn it up a lot, you hear a lot of this. So when you look at Flash, it's like, well, maybe it doesn't have a whole lot of bass. It has a whole lot of mid bass. But when you tilt this down and you really kind of roll this off early like this, you end up with a really thick, heavy, bassy sound and not a whole lot of treble. You can turn this one up as far as your ears will go. There's just not a whole lot of treble there to fatigue you at all, and you just end up with a lot of ear-shaking bass. So I think that's why I sort of prefer this set more than Clear. I think Clear is kind of fun, but the V-shape is something you have to be in the mood for, and you have to be prepared that there are going to be some tracks, and Rockit's one of them, that just kind of gets at you if you turn it up a little bit too much. So another fun bass headset that has come up recently is Castor. And what I'll say about these two is notice sort of the definition on Castor's bass, how it has this kind of more focused version of bass shelf where it's really high right there, and then it rolls off and it rolls off. And if you look at Flash, it tends to be a longer, wider stretch of bass, and they take the bass all the way from the sub bass all the way through right into the mids, whereas Castor is very much this more defined, going to push a lot of bass energy right here, but the rest of it is going to be nice, clean, and clear, and they really drop down into the bass to keep the mids very clear. Flash is not really that style. Flash is kind of an older bass head style where just a lot of bass all across the range, from the sub bass all the way through into the mids. So if you're worried about bleeding into the mids, they carry it right into the mids. And that style is just kind of a thicker, heavier style, like I said, not as kind of punchy or impactful as the way Castor does. But what some people notice about Castor is this a little bit, right? So the pin area in Castor, again, when you turn it up a little bit, you're going to start to notice this little bit right there in the pin area. So what does Flash do? It really drops it a whole lot, and it drops it a whole lot. So you can kind of see the whole treble level is way below Castor. And some people notice this about Castor. Some people are never going to notice about Castor. But as far as a bass head tilt to it, you want a lot of bass and a less treble. So I do enjoy Castor. I think Castor is a great set, but more in a V-shaped style as opposed to a tilted bass head style like the way Flash is. And when we look at them all together on the same graph, you can kind of see that Flash doesn't have as much bass as the other two, but the apparent level of bass when you tilt down the treble like this, it sounds a little thicker and a little heavier. These are going to be a little bit more punchy. Clear is going to have this little bright spot. Even Castor has a bright spot out there as well, but you don't get that on Flash. Flash is just bass, and then there's some treble that will fill in along the way to make it sound a little bit more fun and kind of half natural. So that's the gist of Flash. Bass is what I will say. Quite a full bass, but spread from sub bass all the way up through 600 hertz, right? Like I said, it goes straight up into the mids. This is thicker, heavier bass. Rather than focus like Castor, like we said, Castor tends to drop hard before the mids to keep them a little cleaner. Flash carries right through, right into the mids. If that bothers you, stay away. This one, it's a bass head set, so it sounds a little better that way if you don't drop it hard, or if you want a really slamming set, you would drop it hard, kind of like Castor does. This one is kind of just a more heavier, thicker version of bass. Again, this is a turn it up, a big boom set on the opening to Massive Attack's Unfinished Symphony. Do check out the first, whatever it is, 20 seconds, 30 seconds of that. Really big boom right in the beginning of it. Very, very cool track. Very, very ear-shaking, done well on Flash. The mids, again, this one is going to be way behind the mid's going to be behind the bass on this one. You'll appreciate that early 2K rise. So that's the only bit that, and we'll kind of just look at this one. So the only bit that really pokes its head above water is right here at Flash. So a little early rise at 2K, you'll actually get some energy to the upper mids. Some of your vocals will carry right through, some instruments will carry right through, and everything else will kind of trail off. But that's sort of the bit that keeps it sounding somewhat reasonable or overly muddy, just enough to stay above water, not too much where it would go V-shaped and kill the bass head slant. So definitely not a mid-centric set. It works very well on EDM, which tends to be bass and more treble focused, R&B, bass focused. And if you have higher females, again, they'll sort of catch some of that 2K energy, and those tend to sound a little nicer than the male vocals, which are set back a little bit. Treble, again, tilted down, still there, but really meant for those occasions when you want to turn it up to 11 without any treble fatigue. It's not a whole lot to say about the treble. It's kind of there if you turn it up. If your track has it, it'll appear, but otherwise it's a tilted down, non-fatiguing, very relaxed version of treble. And stage, lots of bass here, but still enough upper treble if you turn it up high enough to project a decent sense of stage on the right tracks with some volume. Again, your track has to have some treble in it, and a track like Rockit actually works really well here because there's some high energy samples and instruments there, and it actually does project a pretty nice stage on a set that has a lot of bass, a really thick amount of bass that you would imagine has no stage, but it actually comes through on the right tracks and at the right volume. So that is a quick one on Flash. Again, this one is for the bass fans, the people who were just looking for a fun bassy set. That is what Flash is. So thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.